Today we're doing something that is real great fun, and I call it doing it rightly wrong, messing it up, making bad casts on purpose. We're making some real bad casting faults today. Like snap piece that pull behind the body, too big of an anchor, snag the whole crap out of it, like roll caster, pull the rope tip too far down and don't unroll, like skipping anchors, for example, like anchors that are too big, like back casts that get snagged and tangled, and then we get our mind again in the cast and we make it clear. Hey, have you tried the bad old throwaway cast already? The throwaway cast is some crap. Are you doing it rightly wrong enough? That is a question today. Are you doing it rightly wrong enough in your practice? What I mean with this is, do you allow for making mistakes on purpose? Do you give yourself a permission slip to fail or to learn how to throw mistakes, casting faults on purpose, deliberately, in order to reproduce them for other people to see them when they're happening, and also for you to learn on how to correct these things? Let me give you an example. And usually fly casting, the teachings of fly casting always only talk about the perfect cast. The perfect cast. The perfect cast is, in my opinion, something that is bad for your fly casting system because it puts your system under pressure. I deal with this in another extra episode, because what I strive to have is the best average out of 100 casts, okay? The easy cast to make, not the perfect cast. I strive for a cast that can make itself easy over a whole day. And the perfect cast in a big old distance always sets your system under a form of pressure that makes, at least for me, the fishing process unenjoyable. And I can cast plenty far enough to reach fish, but I want to be enjoying that process. And because I want to enjoy my casting, I practice a lot of casting because I enjoy the cast in itself, okay? And doing it rightly wrong is a practice method, again, out of my positive reinforcement casting tools, that you can only do with a fluff on, because what we're gonna do here is we make some real shitty, crappy old casting. Very bad casting, suckers of casting. Stuff you would avoid in fishing situations at all times. That's why you never practice this, because if you have a fly on, the thing is, you're always going for the best possible cast that you can make. But you can't learn from this best possible cast, and depending on that stage you are in, you might be, I don't know, making bad casts with, I don't know, bloody L's, because you never knew what that is for a whole day long. And as an example, fail and not get a cast done properly. So my recommendation is practice all these casting faults. For example, a bloody L, or I don't want to get too sophisticated here. I only show you a sequence for a forward spey or switch cast that I practice. And that goes like this. I have to explain something else before I show you that. In every fly cast, the cast works within limits. You can pull the rod tip so far away from a straight line or so much in a curve, and the cast still works until it doesn't anymore. Or in the example what I wanted to show you of a spey cast, you can make that anchor. Every spey cast has an anchor, and that anchor is not always the same. Depending on what line, what configuration you have on, what fly you have on, that anchor is either only it's a different configuration per line setup and anchor. Just take note of that for now. And what I practice in my practice is the limits of this anchor, because there is a stage where this anchor would be too big, where it has too much water contact and would not leave the water well. There is a stage where this anchor is perfect and this line comes off the water very clean, and there's also a stage of this anchor where it does what we call skipping. This here. You can even hear this. Another one. Okay. By the way, I introduced you already the rattle trigger. If you cross-cut, or what is that called? Cross-reference with your brain the rattles here, and the sound it makes when you form an anchor, there's a pattern to that too. And the rattle trigger will allow you to synchronize that pattern too. But again, back to doing it rightly wrong. What I practice, so to say, deliberately is not the perfect cast or the perfect angle for the perfect cast all the time. I practice deliberately to have the anchor too big and to have it too small or skipping or just not right, in order to find the limits better. Or should I maybe show you that on the other side here again. So every spey cast setup, and that changes with the configuration of the sink tip and also the location of the anchor. We talk about that probably in another video, but you can have this anchor too big, you can have it just right, or you can have it skipping. I do this again, pay attention to the different sounds that makes. Too big.
And also pay attention on how your mind reads these casts, or how you get a reading from these bad casts in an anticipatory way from your mind.
Just right. Just right. Oops. And of course, at the end of the day, you're not going to fish with a too big of an anchor, but once you learn to zero yourself into what I call the optimum anchor configuration, because every anchor can be too big, or an anchor can be too big, it can be too small, and it can be sweet or optimum anchor configuration, right? And that is the one part of the optimum anchor configuration, is the structure or form and shape of the anchor itself. The other part of the optimum anchor configuration is the location of the anchor, in case of where it's coming from. Things like the 180-degree principle, but I talk about the location of an anchor in the next episode because it's getting too long again. So I thank you very much for watching another one of the episodes I fire out here, the Michael Rebholz Cool Castle channel. I appreciate a like and a subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Coolcast Official, if you so will. and tickle the algorithm a little bit. Get out, do a little bit of practice. I hope you enjoy fly casting with the tools I present you here as much as I do, and I'm also very happy to hear the feedback from you that you're getting from your system when you try that out. And I wish you tight lines, everybody, and please don't forget, we don't own the water owns us. Yahoo!